All right, I have a fresh workbook here opened up, and off screen I've got a previous copy I've built, just kind of smooth things along, um, so this will go quickly. The first thing that we'll want to do is let's build the match lookup table. So this table will contain the definition of the employer match. So let's go ahead and name the sheet here, and we'll create a match ID. This column will be used to help with the calculating some of the ranges and subsequent things. So we'll have a match range low, a match range high. We'll have the change, and we'll have a match percent, and then a model percent. We'll go ahead and create a table out of this. So from this drop down, we can select specific views. The other thing we can do is use Control T to create one. So I want to say my table has headers, and I'll give it a name of TBL match lookup. All right, so let's go ahead and put a couple rows in there. Probably won't always be necessary. I feel like most employers' programs aren't that complex. And I will populate here our match range. So let's say as an employee, if I contribute from 0 to 3%, our employer will match 100% of those contributions. So if our high range is 3%, and our low range will be 0, but I want to make this a calculation so we don't have to change that every time. I want to also indicate that it is a calculation. I kind of like using these styles here as nice visual cues. I'll also do a calculation for the change, and that should be, I think our model percent will end up being a calculation as well. So the employer is going to match 100% here, and then let's say for between 3 and 5%, they'll match 50% of that. And let's say beyond that, they won't match anything. Okay, let's go ahead and get rid of the last row. So I'm going to delete row there. So let me go ahead and all of these will end up being percentages. Let's go ahead and format them all. And so from 5% then to 100%, that'll be 0. So this percentage here will be percentage of me as the employer, percentage of salary. This percentage will be the percent of the contribution. So if I contribute $1,000 here, they would match with an additional $1,000, so a total of $2,000. Okay, so let's add some of these calculations here. So our match range low, we'll do a VLOOKUP here. Lookup. Our lookup value will be this row's ID minus 1. We want to get the previous row's value. Our table array will be our table match lookup. Our column index number, so we will count 1, 2, 3 to get the third column. And we'll want it to be an exact match, so that's false or 0. So notice here we've got a NA here, there's no previous row, but we pick it up correctly for rows 2 and 3. So to get rid of this NA, let's do a if error. We'll use that throughout this project here. And if it is an error, we want to default it to 0. So there we've got our ranges now, 0 to 3, 3 to 5, 5 to 100. Let's next do our change here. So this will represent what's the change from low to high. So it's very simple, just our range high minus our range low. So we've got 3 to 95, and we have our match percent here, 100, 50, and 0. This model percent we can't do quite yet. We'll need to build out some of the rest of it. So let's add another sheet here. We'll call this our retirement projector. So we're going to add some variables here first. So we'll want to be able to input my current age, at what age I'll plan to retire. We'll calculate our contribution years. We'll put in, or allow us to enter our contribution rate, so at what percentage we'll be contributing, what an annual return rate would be, what our salary, we'll do our current salary, and what we think our salary growth rate would be. We'll put in what our current year is and what our retirement year will be, and we'll just calculate that out. It's just the column there, and let's say our current age is, just for the sake of this example, 30, retirement age 65. We'll do our calculation here in a second. Our contribution rate, let's say 5%. Our annual return rate, 7%. We're setting this up so we can adjust it too, so we can, if we want to try to reference that off of the average mutual fund return or an index fund or the market average return, however we want to do that. If we want to be conservative or more aggressive, and we can play with that, once we get to the analysis portion. So our current salary, let's just throw in 50,000 US. What our salary growth rate would be, let's go ahead and say 2%. Current year, it's currently 2017 while I'm making this. And let's change that to a regular number. Retirement year, we'll calculate that. So let's go ahead and create some named ranges. Nice quick shortcut here is, once we have our kind of cells figured out in our headers here, we can go to formula, create from selection, and then we can do left column. That looks right. And okay. So now as we look, we now have, if you look up here in our reference box here, each one of these have been specifically assigned a named range. So let's go ahead and do our contribution years. So now that we have the name ranges, we would say retirement age minus current age, so 35 years. And then our retirement year is simply our current year plus our contribution years. And let's go ahead and, like I did before, let's go ahead and identify our inputs. And our calculations, just to give us a nice visual cue. Let's go ahead and format that as a currency there. Okay, so we've got our inputs here. Next thing we'll want to do is start building out a table that will calculate these. So we'll start with a year column, what the salary is for that year, what the beginning balance is for that year, my contribution, company contribution, the change in value, and the ending balance. So I'll hit Control T, indicate my table as headers, and I'll give it a name of okay. And what I'm going to do here is, because the year will be calculated, the salary will be calculated, beginning balance, pretty much all of these will be calculation. All of them will be calculations. I'm going to expand the table manually here by clicking in the bottom right here and then dragging down. And I'll give us, don't need that much, but give us a good amount of values here. So let's see. Let's maybe do 70 rows. So let's see how many we have here. We've got 61, so let's do a few more, just in case. And now I go to 65. That should be plenty. 65 should be plenty. Okay, so for our year calculation, let's create a, basically just let's identify which row we're on first. So we're going to do this first with a row formula. So this is going to return the row in the spreadsheet, and let's subtract from that the row of the retirement projector. And so giving that returns 0. So I think that should work well for us. So now let's add to it our current year. So if we take this, so if we take our current year plus that, we can now see 2017, 18, etc., all the way down to 2081. So let's now limit that to only the contribution years we plan on doing. So let's say now if, and let's copy that. So if that is less than or equal to our retirement year, we'll use that same formula. Otherwise, we'll just put a blank. So now if we go down to the bottom, we'll see we stop at the retirement year, and we have these extra ones. So if we want to adjust our values here, we can get to that. Next, our salary column. So we're going to use the future value function here. So let's go ahead and say equals future value. Our rate will be our salary growth rate. And since we're on an annual basis, we don't need to worry about adjusting that. The number of periods will be the year minus the current year. And we'll have 0 payments. And our present value is our current salary. And we don't need to worry about type. So you can see now we've got a growing salary based on our salary growth rate. We get these value errors. So let's throw our if error in there. And let's go ahead and throw a minus as well to get these to be positive values. There, that looks better. Let's go ahead and format all these as currency. There. All right, so our beginning balance now. Like we did in the match lookup, we're going to use a VLOOKUP here. So we'll say equals VLOOKUP. Our lookup value will be year minus 1. Our table array will be our table retirement projector. The column we will want will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And we want it to be an exact match. So notice we got an NA here. Of course, there's no row. That's 2016. And we got some values here. So let's throw our if error. And we'll put a blank there. All right, so now we've got our beginning balance. Let's go ahead and calculate our contribution. So this will be a pretty easy calculation. So we'll just take our salary times our contribution rate, calculate that down, and we'll again throw our if error to prevent the value errors at the bottom. That looks better. Have our company contribution here. Let's see. Now this one is we'll need to finish the match lookup first. So let's leave that as is for now. Let's go ahead and do our change in value first. So just to keep things simple, we're going to define this as our annual return rate times our beginning balance. That'll be our change in value. We'll go ahead and throw our if error in there. Okay, now our ending balance will be easy enough, just a sum of everything. And let's prevent the sum from going further. So let's say if year does not equal blank, then we will do a sum of our columns here in the row. Otherwise, we will leave it blank as well. There, so now we're starting to see it build out nicely here, all the way down to our retirement age. So we can kind of calculate here, if we were to contribute without having any type of company contribution at retirement age, we would have $469,000. So let's do our company contribution next. To do so, we'll have to figure out our model percent here. So this is probably the most complex formula in this project. So let's go over it piece by piece. So basically we want to say, depending on what we're contributing, we want to calculate what percent of our salary will be for each line. So then we can do a sum of this against our salary to get the company contribution. So we are going to say, we're going to use a ifs function. So this allows us to do multiple logical tests in one formula. So we're going to say if our match range high is less than or equal to our contribution rate, then we will do our match percent times the change. So 0 to 3, we're matching 100%. Our next test will be if the contribution rate is greater than, if the contribution rate is greater than the low range, then we want to take the contribution rate minus the match range low, and then multiply that by the match percent. So for 0 to 3, since we're contributing 5%, we're going to get all of that match at 100%. So 100% of 3% is 3. We're contributing 5%, and from 3 to 5, they're matching 50% of that. So the change there is 2, so half of 2 is 1%. And let's go ahead and put our if error in there as well. Let's make sure yeah. And we'll put a 0 in for that one. Okay. So now we've got that. We can do our company contribution. So this becomes pretty straightforward. So we'll say we'll take our salary times the sum of the match lookup table in the model percent column. So now we've got 2,000 here. Let's step through that function. So if we go to formula, evaluate formula. Okay, so 50,000. And then the sum of that range is 4%, which seems right. What we did before, 2,000, that looks good. Okay, I feel comfortable with that. Let's go ahead and throw our if error in there. Alrighty. Okay, so we're looking good here. I'm not really concerned about filtering on these, so let's go ahead and remove our filters. Let's adjust our columns. And let's go ahead and freeze our panes here as we scroll. We can keep our header information. Yeah. All right, so we can have it all up at the top. Let's create a value that will indicate our retirement balance. So we're going to do our max of our ending balance, and let's go ahead and do that as a calculation value there. We have a label of balance at retirement, and let's go ahead and give that a named range of balance at retirement. Okay, so let's finish this off here with a chart. Let's take our year column and our ending balance there. So I guess a quick tip here that I really find helpful. The control key and the arrow keys, probably one of my favorite Excel shortcuts. So control right goes to the end of a data range, control left goes to the beginning, control down goes to the bottom, control up goes to the top. If I use the shift key as well, I can select, so control shift down selects the entire column. Now if I hold the control key, click the next column here, control shift down, I've now selected the year column and the ending balance. So let's go insert a chart. My testing, I found the column chart seemed to work best. So let's go ahead and put it up here. And let's format our axis. And let's do our number. Let's change this format code. So one of the tricks I've learned recently is how to show this in thousands as opposed to its current view. So don't need the pennies, and let's do a comma there. Okay, let's add that, and let's add a K to represent thousands. It's on the wrong side. Okay, so basically here we're saying we've got two commas, so that's to the millions place, and the pound or hash sign here will show any value if it's there. And then we've added our K here, so we're now not showing anything after the thousands place. So again, so now we see you up to 1 million here, 800,000, 604, 2, etc. So we don't see any of the down here. However, it is selected, so as we adjust our model, the values will show. And we see a nice kind of logarithmic growth here, which really kind of highlights the benefit of doing an investment program here. You know, not only are we contributing money, our employers contributing money, but the market will be contributing money as our value changes over time. So just a small amount of money, really, 5% of our salary, with our matching employer's contribution. As we grow, we can really get a pretty significant value here. This concludes the build out of our model. In the next video, we'll perform some analysis. We adjust and compare how these variables over here impact the balance at retirement. If you've enjoyed this video, please click the like button and don't forget to subscribe. If there are any tips or ideas you'd like to teach me, please comment below. Maybe there's an additional assumption or factor you'd like to see included. Thanks for watching.